First of all, aren't you tired of it? I'm tired of it. You just say, oh, please, can't we get together in this country? Can't the politicians put the good of the nation ahead of political advantage? Well, the truth is, some of it is really principle. The one group is saying we don't want to saddle our children and grandchildren with insupportable debt. The others say, well, we've got political constituencies that demand something, so we've got to give it to them. Well, the battle is more over government debt. It isn't over yet in Washington, and it could have serious consequences for this economy of ours and the markets.
That's right. Now there's a new warning that if the government defaults on its debts, it could lead to higher interest rates and put America back into a recession. Ephraim Graham has the story.
President Obama now says he is willing to negotiate with Republicans, but only after they allow Congress to reopen the government and raise the debt limit to end the threat of a default.
We understand there's going to have to be some give and take. What we are saying is, don't hurt more people while we're trying to resolve these differences. Let's just at least make sure that we keep the lights on while we're having these conversations.
If there's unconditional surrender by Republicans, he'll sit down and talk to us. That's not the way our government works.
As the back and forth continues, the financial world is showing clear signs. It fears the battle in Washington could hurt the economy. Stock markets declined again Tuesday, with the Dow dropping nearly 160 points. And the International Monetary Fund trimmed its global and U.S. growth forecast through 2014, warning a U.S. default would raise interest rates and potentially drive the American economy back into a recession.
Warren Buffett likened default to a nuclear bomb, a weapon too horrible to use.
Meanwhile, new charges from conservatives that Democrats and the White House are playing politics with the shutdown. National parks and memorials remain closed. But Tuesday, the administration reopened the National Mall for a pro-immigration rally.
It seems like President Obama and the Democrats have been planning for this. They think it's in their political interest, and they actually want it to be as painful as possible for Americans to make the Republicans look bad.
And polls show the administration's PR war is somewhat successful. 62% of Americans say Republicans are mostly responsible for the shutdown. But more than half also say President Obama and the Democrats bear some of the blame. Ephraim Graham, CBN News.
Well, the polls also show that the American people are saying that we want to balance our budget before we raise the debt limit, at least get spending under control. Ladies and gentlemen, this country cannot continue to go in the hole $1 trillion a year or $600 billion a year, every year, year after year after year. 17 trillion, before long 18, then 19, then 20. It will get to be so enormous that no generation can dig its way out. And I would hope that the young people in this country, the college-age people and the young adults would say, listen, you're sending us the bill for your profligate ways. Just imagine mom and dad decide they want to just throw it all in and go to Vegas and put on a fancy shirt and smoke cigars and drink champagne and hit the casinos and just gamble away all their money and then go on hock and sign vouchers for future generations. That's what's happening now. President Obama said, you know, in a previous collision, he said he would shut the government down if the grants to Planned Parenthood were taken away. The House voted against those grants, over $500 million to the largest abortion provider in the nation. And the president said, I will shut the government down rather than give up that subsidy. Well, it goes all the way through the Keystone Pipeline. The environmentalists say we don't want it. And even though the labor unions say you'll give us more jobs, it'll help the economy, and it's been proven it won't hurt the Ogallala aquifer and all the rest of it, he says, no, I'm voting against it. Well, you've got a man who's an ideologue, and something's got to be done to break the impasse, and I don't know what it's going to be, but all we can do is pray for our nation because it is critical. Well, the President Obama has made another important decision that will affect the economy. John Jessup has that story from Washington.
President Obama names a new Fed chief today. Janet Yellen is currently vice chair of the Federal Reserve. The president has picked her to succeed outgoing Chairman Ben Bernanke. His term ends January 31st. Yellen helped Bernanke craft the policies many analysts say helped save the banking system after the 2008 financial collapse. She's expected to continue them if confirmed by the Senate, and that would mean interest rates remain low and the Fed would continue to pump money into the economy. But she may face a tough confirmation battle because some critics believe those policies have raised the risk of inflation. Yellen also would be the first woman to lead a central bank anywhere in the world. U.S. officials say the Obama administration is set to slash hundreds of millions of dollars in military and economic aid to Egypt. When the radical Muslim Brotherhood came to power, the White House kept the money flowing. But now it's reportedly planning to cut aid to Egypt's current military government. The military ousted President Mohamed Morsi and his government in June. A move by the U.S. to cut aid to Egypt would likely have profound implications for the relationship between the U.S. and Egypt. That relationship has helped provide security and stability in the Middle East. Pat, that could have huge implications for Israel, too.
I am horrified at this. This is the most insane thing. The Muslim Brotherhood wants to destroy America. They want to set up a caliphate in the Middle East. They want to bring Sharia law to this nation. And they are the sponsors of the PLO. They're the sponsors of Hamas. They're the sponsor of Hezbollah. And when the military took over in Egypt, their action was applauded. So it looks like the Kuwaitis and the Saudis and others of the Gulf Arabs are saying, well, we will take up the slack. America's aid was not that important, but this is symbolic, and it is a wrong signal to send. The military over there is doing what is needed, and sometimes it's necessary to dislodge a dictatorship. And the Muslim Brotherhood was a dictatorship of Islamic extremists. And for some reason, the president allies himself with them. We should oppose that with everything we've got, because this says America is on the side now of terrorists, not on the side of stability. John?
Pat, more reports of radical Islamists attacking and brutalizing Christians in the southern Egyptian town of Dalga. The Barnabas Fund reports that militant Muslims kidnapped, beat, and dragged a Christian man through the streets last week. After his burial, members of the Muslim Brotherhood dug up his corpse and dragged it through the streets again to terrify local Christians. Most of the town's 20,000 Christians have fled the city. Conservative groups in California are trying to stop a new law. It allows transgender students to use boys' and girls' restrooms. Opponents want to repeal it before it takes effect in January. David Brody brings us the story from the Golden State.
California isn't exactly known as a conservative stronghold, and now liberal lawmakers are pushing even further. Democratic Governor Jerry Brown just signed a law stating that transgender students can choose which restrooms they want to use and whether they want to play boys or girls sports. LA and San Francisco already took this action, but it's the first time a transgender law like this made it to the state level. It's all cloaked under the guise of fairness.
No student can learn if they feel like they have to hide who they are at school or if they are singled out for unequal treatment.
Supporters say it's important that transgender students feel comfortable and not isolated.
It's going to take away that extra pressure of not knowing where to go and not knowing what classes you're going to be in and not being treated as the same as all the other boys or girls in your school.
The Democrats control the state capitol agenda up here in Sacramento, but there is one guy inside, Assemblyman Tim Donnelly, a conservative Republican, who has said he's had enough. He's pulling his kid out of school.
The public schools are no longer interested in education. They become government indoctrination centers.
So the Assemblyman from Southern California made a strong choice.
I pulled my 13-year-old son out of school. He is not going back to the junior high school for more of this social indoctrination. To me, they ought to be talking about reading, writing, and arithmetic, not sexual identity politics.
And he's not the only one who feels that way. Social conservative groups want the law stopped, and it will take 500,000 signatures to let California voters decide the law's fate next November.
It's going to require hundreds of thousands of signatures to be gathered, but we certainly believe it's something that the people of California across the ideological spectrum want to see.
I have never seen anything unite parents. There's a movement. I'm calling it Parents United.
Stories about special rights for transgender students are cropping up all over the nation. A Wisconsin elementary school now has something called Switch It Up Day, where kids wear clothing of the opposite sex. In Colorado, a first grader who was born as a boy won a court case after being banned from the girls' restroom at school. Donnelly believes this is going too far when statistics show just 0.3% of people are transgender in America.
You don't have the right to violate the civil rights of 99% of the population because 1% of the population is suffering from a disorder.
But transgender groups won't stop pushing for equal access, even if many think they've gone too far.
This bill is 3 bridges too far. It's not 1 bridge too far. And they're burning the bridges.
David Brody, CBN News in Sacramento, California.
Pat, it looks like it's really a blurred line between public education versus social indoctrination.
Well, that's what it all is. You remember years ago that guy said, who cares if Johnny can't read? We've got him until he's 18, and we can change him into one of the people we want. They don't care about the reading and writing. They're into gender politics. Mm-hmm. I may be an old fuddy-duddy. What is transgender?
Well, they're still boys, but they dress like girls, or they're still girls, but they dress like boys. They still have all the boy parts and all the girl parts, which I think makes it very uncomfortable for those who are actually, girls and boys.
I am not opposed to somebody who feels that they're a boy trapped in a girl's body and they want a sex change operation. I think that happens, and I see nothing wrong with it. But this whole business about transgenders, you say they got boy parts, but they want to go to the girls' restroom. I mean, that's absurd.
Now, some of them might have had operations, but I don't think the actual definition at that stage, when they're that young, I don't think they're.
And so.
But like you said, it's just less than 1%, and they're such a loud minority.
Well, a little boy wants to dress up like a girl and wants to play with dolls. All right, big deal. That doesn't give him the right to go into the girls' restroom. I mean, he's still got the parts that work as a male.
That's right. And to change the laws in a state like California, it's just ridiculous.
I mean, why are we exposed to this stuff? I mean, they are driving the agenda, driving everybody crazy. All this sexual identity, sexual politics, mommy, I have 2 mommies and all that stuff. I mean, it's a tiny fringe, but they seem to have control of the levers of power in the media and especially in Hollywood. I mean, but it's insane. I just cannot believe that the normal people in America, the people who want to just live their lives, can't be allowed to do it without having this stuff imposed on them constantly. Whew. Well, but you've explained to me.
Yes.
Yes.
I hope.
I'm not sure we know yet. Okay, John, what's next?
Pat, Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia says the devil is still at work in the world today. In an interview with New York Magazine, the longest-serving high court justice opened up about his Catholic faith. He says even though the devil isn't doing the same things from the Bible, he's still very busy. Scalia says what he's doing now is getting people not to believe in him or in God. He's much more successful that way. And he defended his belief, saying that most of America believes in the devil. I mean, Jesus Christ believed in the devil. It's in the Gospels. He added that most of mankind, including people smarter than him, have believed in the devil throughout history. The Supreme Court followed its usual practice of admitting new lawyers to its bar when it opened its new term Monday. Politico.com reports that Jay Sekulow, the chief counsel of the American Center for Law and Justice, moved for admission of a group of lawyers from Regent University, including his son, Jordan. Now, we know Jordan fairly well here at CBN News, and Pat, I got to tell you, Regent University continues to crank out the cream of the crop.
There is no question about it, and I'm so happy. We have a moot court, and there's a guy named Hernandez who's the coach of the moot court, and they've been winning victory. But they went to an international competition over in England. They beat Oxford, a team from Oxford. They beat a team from Cambridge. They came in second in the world, Regent University Law School. And if you're looking for an outstanding place to go to law school, by all means, take care of that.
Christian business owners in Iowa have filed a lawsuit to defend their decision not to host a same-sex wedding. Richard and Betty Odgaard own the Gertz House Gallery in Grimes, Iowa. In August, they denied 2 homosexual men from holding their wedding at their facility. The location formerly served as a Lutheran church and is now a popular location for couples to tie the knot. The Mennonite owners say the wedding violated their religious beliefs. The 2 men have filed a complaint with the Iowa Civil Rights Commission. The Odgaards are suing the commission. They fear ultimately it may force them to host the wedding. Many of the victims of the recent tragic shipwreck off the coast of Italy are believed to be African Christians fleeing persecution. More than 250 migrants fleeing Africa for Europe died when their ship caught fire and sank. A priest who ministers to the migrant community told the World Watch Monitor that many of the survivors are Christians. I look at the list of the survivors and 90% is Christian, Father Musi Zerai said. They are coming from Eritrea and Ethiopia. Eritrea is ranked number 10 on the list of global persecutors by Open Doors International, a ministry to the persecuted church. Well, you can always get the latest from CBN News by going to our website at cbnnews.com.